Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Coaching and Consulting Insight series on the Success Insight podcast. This series introduces you to coaches and consultants who work with leaders, entrepreneurs, business owners, and professionals to create their best lives and achieve and perform at their full potential. Our guests today are Dr. Kathy Norwood and Carrie-Ann Tkaczyk. Kathy has a doctorate in educational leadership and change. She is the co-owner of Coaches Evolve and the director of the International Academy of Professional Coaching. She is also a master certified coach with an ICF Level 2 Professional Academy. She's been a national education consultant, a trainer, a coach, an author. Kathy has been busy, and she also teaches evidence-based coaching at 2 universities. Carrie-Ann is a certified evidence-based coach from Fielding's graduate school. Like Kathy and myself, that's our alma mater. I love that. And she is a certified mindfulness meditation teacher. And she is also passionate about the intersection of mindfulness and coaching. Kathy, Carrie-Ann, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Welcome.
Thanks, Howard. Thank you, Howard.
Fantastic. I think this is the first time I've ever had 2 other Fielding graduates on my podcast. I think I think it's a first. There might be another one coming up. You remember Lenny Wildflower, Katrina Rogers, the president of Fielding. But I'm just so excited to have you both on the podcast and really to learn about this special project that the 2 of you are working on. Before we get to that project, I would love just to learn a little bit more about you both. Carrie-Ann, since this is the first time you and I are meeting, and as you shared a few minutes ago, you're down in Flagstaff, which is a beautiful part of the world. Yeah, give us a 30,000-foot view of who you are and what you're doing.
Well, yeah, I am in Flagstaff, and I will be here for a year and a half. My husband is back in school at 59 to study climate science and solutions, and so I'm here doing my coaching. I work with educators, with teacher leadership and coaching. So I'm working with some educators in Flagstaff, and then I still have lots of people in Portland and other areas that I work with. I do individual coaching with lots of leaders around the country, and I teach mindfulness classes every Sunday. I have a growing community with that, which is a lot of fun.
Excellent. Now, the mindfulness classes, are those in person, or is there also perhaps a virtual component to it?
It is virtual. So I have people on the East Coast, here in Flagstaff, and on the West Coast. We come together, and I do want to eventually do an in person, but it's just worked out because I spent a year traveling the West,
Yeah.
and I taught these classes and did my coaching from a travel trailer as we were traveling and exploring. And I would share my learnings as I went along and lead these meditations. And I would work with people in coaching, also sharing my learnings as I went along. It was quite a year. It's been quite a couple years actually.
I love that, and what you just shared about the RV, I'm thinking, "Oh my god, I need to chat with you," because our other podcast is the Outdoor Adventure Series, and I have had individuals who have picked up the roots, and now they travel around the US and north of into Canada, Mexico, and they're no digital nomads. And I would love, I think, waking up in this beautiful setting and go to work helping to coach people. And I love the fact that you are doing that, and that I'm sure there's some great stories there. So, well, again, I appreciate you being here, and again, I love the fact that you are on you're an alumni of Fielding. Now, I'm not going to ask you what cohort you're in because sometimes people forget that. I will never forget. I'm cohort 4. But as many years ago, I think Kathy, you probably know how many cohorts there are. But again, Carrie-Ann, so glad you're with us today. And Kathy, my friend, you and I are here in Las Vegas together. Share with our listeners a little bit about your background, because It's pretty extensive. So tell us a little bit.
Thank you, Howard. I love that you brought up Lenny Wildflower. So she was the one that got both of us started in evidence-based coaching many years ago. So I was cohort 2. That must mean I'm your elder, right, Howard? If you're
You're my elder.
cohort.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
I may be older, but you are my elder.
Yes. So yeah, I believe there's 54. We're into 54 cohorts right now. But Lenny
Oh,
got
wow.
us all started, and I was the first educator. They were the first evidence-based program in a university in the world. So she was quite the pioneer, and I was the first educator that they took into the program. So during that period of time, my spouse and I wrote a collaborative dissertation on transformational coaching in education, look at the bridges and barriers to learning. And it was the first collaborative dissertation at Building. So that was
Wow.
a fabulous experience. And out of that work, my heart and my passion is all about transformational coaching. I've been an educator for over 40 years now. I'm still in the schools.
Mhm.
Um, just so desirous of helping our educators not only survive, but thrive and find themselves again. So my work for many years was taking coaching into the schools and teaching them how to coach, professional coaching, bridging what we had learned as professional coaches with educational coaching. And my desire was always to develop my own school for educators. So I believe I'm the first with ICF to have a huge focus that's customized around educators and their context and how you coach within the system.
Okay. You've mentioned the word educators, and can you add more context to, are we talking K through 12, higher education? I'm working with a lot of healthcare providers right now in my coaching practice, and they need a lot of help. Not that it's a very stressful profession. There's a lot of age differentiations there. So, and also the pressures of putting out programs that have an impact. So, what kind of educators are you working with? Where are they within this whole education umbrella?
Yeah, thank you. Great question. K 12, as well as birth to 5 early childhood education, have many, many years of working with
Mhm.
that population as well. And it's expanded to upper ed. So it's the gamut at this point in time, but for many, many years, it was pre K 12 in the school systems.
Okay.
And the last few years, it's been a big focus for them on mental and emotional well-being to be able to stay grounded and stay in their profession as they continue to take care of and teach our children and our students.
Okay. Very good.
And if I may, Howard, I
Sure.
was one of the educators that Kathy reached. I was in the classroom and on a whim ended up going to one of her coaching trainings,
Okay.
saw her coaching the unseen. To me, that's what it was. It felt like magic. And I signed up for fielding pretty soon after and changed my career from a classroom teacher to a district coach and started in the building and then in the district. So, and I still work with educators and principals, but that was all because I saw Kathy at work working with teachers and I saw what it did.
Oh, that was actually gonna be one of the questions that I was gonna ask is, how did you 2 meet? And that's a wonderful story, is someone in the class, in this class, this coaching class, and just all of a sudden this light bulb goes out, and it's like, "Wow, I need to do that." And that's wonderful. That's
Yeah,
wonderful.
I'd never done it before. I went right up to Kathy after her session and I think I said, okay, how do I do this?
Okay. And then you discovered fielding, and I mean, it's fielding is such a special place. Not that there's a lot of great coaching programs out there, but just fielding was just so very special. That's very cool story. Carrie Ann, I am curious though, your background as a practitioner in mindfulness, uh, mindfulness, there we go. And I remember the couple tapes I would listen to, John Kabat-Zinn. He's like the godfather of one of the godfathers of mindfulness, meditation. And how did you begin to embrace that discipline? And had that been a part of your life even as a teacher?
I think I started meditating before I started school. I almost burnt my parents' bathroom down trying to light my first candle to meditate. And I threw the match into the trash can and it went on fire and I threw it into the sink. That
Okay.
was my first experience trying to meditate. I had taken a book from my mom's shelf that I'm sure she never even looked at
Right.
that had meditating with candles. And I was drawn to meditation. I was in the Peace Corps in Nepal and I lived with Buddhists, and something really opened up inside me. And when I moved to Portland, it was Portland, Oregon, where I lived for many years. It was a wonderful place to practice meditation. And so I did the 2-year program with Jack Cornfield and Tara Brock to become a certified meditation teacher.
Okay.
But I knew the moment I started coaching that meditation and coaching needed to go together. And while Kathy has, I think, a much broader, I won't speak for you, Kathy, but I'll just say that I think you have a broader view than meditation. What I saw that first time I saw you coach was someone who coached the unseen because you were looking at the body,
Mm.
right? She was doing all that good stuff that meditators do. I just didn't know what she was doing at the time. So I've come to realize that meditation and coaching just really work.
Okay. How did you two begin to contemplate there is something that we both can offer together in a practice for others? When did that take place, Kathy?
Well, ever since we met many years ago, when she was a high school teacher, our relationship has just continued to deepen.
Okay.
Uh, I was actually her mentor at building when she went through the EBC program. And I always knew at some point that we would teach together because we're kind of the same cloth,
Okay.
have that same heart of passion, right? For those that we work with. And so it just felt like a really nice fit. I do a lot of teaching with heart coherence and how it is foundational for being deeply present and mindful in coaching. And Carrie-Ann does all of the mindfulness piece of it and deep presence. And it was just like a perfect marriage of coming together and saying, let's offer this together. This is both our wheelhouse, and we'll
Mhm.
be able to create experiences in such a way that people can really experience it fully within themselves.
Okay. So this kind of journey the seeds have been planted for many years now, and it's going to be coming to fruition shortly in October. The Embodied Coach Seminar. It's going to be here in Henderson, Nevada, out near I guess it's near Lake Mead, out that way, Lake Las Vegas. Uh, how when did this idea really start to really take shape? Like, hey, let's really sit down and begin to plan this. What was it like creating this together with each of your disciplines complementing each other? Kathy, why don't you share, and then Carrie Ann, I'd love to hear your perspective as well.
I think it was last winter. We both do work in the Portland, Oregon area, and we thought, wouldn't
Yeah.
it be fun to put a couple of our trainings together for something that would really address and meet the needs? So that's when we began the process of it. Part of what
Mhm.
I'm teaching is what I teach in my academy, and
Right.
part of what Carrie Ann's teaching is what she does in her teachings. And so that was the start of it. Carrie Ann?
Okay.
One of my places of wisdom is to keep the best people close to me. And I have kept Kathy close. So when I'm on
You're a
the road,
smart woman.
right? So when I was on the road, I kept in touch with Kathy, and we would talk about this idea of mindfulness and coaching, and I was learning about what she was doing with the heart coherence, and I took one of her classes, and she came to one of my mindfulness series,
Mhm.
and so this communication kept happening, and it was very natural. I think last winter when you said you were going to Portland for the two of us to say, "Let's do this together."
Okay. Very cool. Now, this program that you're putting together, Kathy, is this an ICF, and for our listeners, International Coach Federation, is it an ICF accredited training program?
Yes, it is. 12 continuing
Okay.
um, education units.
Oh, excellent. Continuing, that's important. I mean,
Mhm.
resource credits are good, but continuing education is better. For our listeners, if you are a member of the ICF and you have a credential, you have to renew it every 3 years. And a little bit of self-disclosure here, Kathy's been very supportive of me as I pursue my next credential for the ICF. So, Kathy, thank you. And we do have one other connection. We are both members of uh, the Southern Nevada chapter of the International Coach Federation. So that was a surprise when you and I kind of walked into the same meeting. It's like, hey, I know you. That was very cool. So, Kathy, tell us a little bit more about the organization of this seminar. The folks that are going to be attending it, what can they expect?
There was a time, there was a time when you were called Soma,
Hmm.
ancient Greece. There was a deep understanding that we were spirit, soul, mind, body integrated fully, and it was honored and it was valued. And rather than separating all of the words out like we do today, oh, we're spirit, soul, mind, body, emotions, this, that, right? We have all of these little boxes. Then you were just known as Soma, and you were valued because you brought the fullness of yourself into all that you did. And we started to, part of what I'm going to do is teach a touch on the history of where we started to lose the connection with ourselves.
Mhm.
We lost coming home inside, and we learned to live basically in our brain, in our intellect, in our rational mind. And that began to happen first with Socrates to Galileo, eventually Descartes in the 17th century. He was the one that said, I think, and therefore I am. He also said emotions, sensations, and feelings happen to us. We must dominate them. From that period of time, we began to really marginalize the fullness of ourselves, our body, our emotions, our feelings, our values, our aspirations. And we crippled ourselves spiritually and emotionally. And so much of our work is about helping people reintegrate to the fullness of themselves so they can experience life in a way that is passionate and connected. We've disconnected from each other and from life because we live in our headspace. So, yes, we need our intellect, but it doesn't solve all of our problems. And so, what we're going to do during this training is help people begin to understand somatic coaching, which is, again, the integration of the fullness of ourselves, where we begin to create an awareness and understand that our sensations are actually communicating with us and telling us something. And under those sensations are emotions. And under those emotions, something is being communicated. So it's a deeper level of wisdom and intelligence that lives within our body that we haven't learned how to access fully when we tend to live in our headspace. This is a way to come back home and access more of the fullness of ourselves and then help our clients do the same.
Very good.
So,
Thank you for sharing.
yes.
So, Carrie-Ann, I'm curious then how mindfulness is going to. I look at it as a really probably a bad analogy. I'm picturing a house made of brick, and then all these components, the soul, the mind, the spirit, the body, are the bricks. And then the mindfulness is kind of like the mortar just connecting all of this together. I could be wrong. That's what I was thinking about. But so how will mindfulness then overlay into what Kathy has just shared that the attendees are going to get out of this program?
Your analogy brought me back to education. I am a trained ESL or ELD, English Language Development trained teacher, and that was our foundation, this idea of bricks and mortar. And the work that I did was the mortar. So it's really funny you're using that analogy. I think it's a yes and. So I want to go back to what Kathy was saying, which you said beautifully, Kathy, and apply the science to what she's saying. There was a Finnish research that was done in 2014. Rita Hari and a series of scientists basically did these scans of the body with people. Where do they feel emotions? Where are
Mm,
sensations coming in the body when certain stimulus were happening?
mm,
And that it went from blue or dark to like nothing's happening to uh, orange, red, and then yellow is the most vibrant. When people are doing cognitive tasks, like in a traditional coaching session where you're just simply doing a cognitive task, a cognitive interaction between two people, all of the firing is up in the head.
mhm.
You can see the body is just dark in their scans, but the head is firing. They're like what Kathy was saying, that disconnect from the head and the body is happening. So with mindfulness, what we do is we're seeking to look for those moments when there's something firing in the body, right? It could be like an old story that comes up, and with that comes maybe emotion that the client is so up here, right? Because they're doing a cognitive task. They don't see what's happening in the body. They don't notice that emotion coming, that sensation, that startling, but as a mindfulness practitioner, as a coach with that background, you see the signs. And so when you ask a person to move down into the body, they become they start to not just get access, but they begin to create pathways.
Mhm.
And science has shown this, right? Again and again and again, that when people begin to access their body, because there's so much, as Kathy said, wisdom in there, right? You begin to see like where these emotions are. You begin to see, oh, this is an old story that's coming up as I say this. I don't need this anymore. And that's where that transformation of understanding there's a disconnect between a feeling and the reality, or this is a new feeling coming up. However the client interprets, that's fine, but being able to access beyond the brain, that's where mindfulness comes in. We've got to get people to feel into their bodies.
Okay. So, Carrie, I'm curious, and again, as you were describing that, a feeling came to me. Uh, the experience of when I'm under stress or I'm being asked to do something I really don't want to do. And one of the opportunities I have with many of my clients is getting comfortable with saying no. I would love to help you, but I can't. For me, saying no, it shows up in my stomach. Like when my stomach really starts to churn, I've learned that I really have to recognize there's something else going on here and I have to listen to it. Is that the kind of connect part of the connection or is this different?
Now that's great, Howard. Yeah, and the fact that you're making that connection. And so with mindfulness, it would be through training and support, being able to really sit in that discomfort
Okay.
for longer and longer periods of time to hear what's happening in your stomach and
Mhm.
to understand the messages that you're getting. And you mentioned John Kabat-Zinn. I want to bring his definition of mindfulness, if I may, real quick, just to
Please
end
do.
my what I'm saying. He says, and this is often used, his definition is you called him, I think, the gold standard of mindfulness or something. He says that mindfulness is awareness that arises through paying attention, right? So you're paying attention to, oh, my stomach's churning again. And you're doing it on purpose. You're saying, I'm going to pay attention so I understand, right? So mindfulness is awareness that rises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment And then he adds non-judgmentally. And to me, that's the key piece where a coach is very helpful because what do we do often? What has our society trained us to do? Oh, there's that stomach again. I just got to stop it. This is ridiculous. Come on, pull up your boots, get out there, right? But if you do it with non judgment and you open to the experience, he sometimes adds in the service of self understanding and wisdom, then you can befriend that feeling. And when you befriend it, it goes away.
Very good. Very good. I have no doubt there's going to be a lot of reflection of what gets learned by the attendees at the seminar. And Kathy, what are you, and Carrie-Ann, if you want, please jump in as well. Is at the end of the seminar, what is your hope, desire for the attendees to take away?
So we're bringing in such a full package. We learn by experiencing, not just intellectually taking it into the prefrontal lobe within our brain. And so a lot of what we'll be doing is practicing the middle part of the brain. The back part of the brain moves us into beingness. Now we've become it. So we're going to experience and practice our learning, as well as have a lot of the research, the latest research on the neurosciences, and understand that behaviors can't change. We don't create new neural pathways. This teaches us how to do that. We're also going to teach them, and Carrie-Ann just explained it so beautifully, somatic coaching. So what do you do when it becomes clear with the client that you're working with? What do you do when you get a stomach ache at the same time that Howard gets a stomach ache, right? There's a synergy and a connection between the two of you. And so somatically, a lot of times we're feeling what's going on in their body and it helps create awareness. So we'll teach how you actually coach somatically to help somebody move through it, gain the deeper understanding, and actually transform themselves. There's a new state of beingness once they've experienced somatic coaching, even just one time.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll
Carrie-Ann?
just amplify what Kathy said that they will my hope is that our participants in experiencing this will really get a true sense of, this is what this is about. Because as we just explained, just explaining it, just cognitively knowing is not the same as a full-bodied experience. And so that's what we'll both be providing.
Okay. Very good. And so as the seminar is taking place, is this something that you see kind of growing and expanding either virtually or continuing it here in Las Vegas, taking it on the road? How do you see the growth in coming from this type of seminar, Kathy?
Yeah, we're feeling like there's so much potential here because we're both about taking not only aspiring new coaches, but professional experience coaches and helping develop at deeper levels. This is advanced coach training and it can always continue to advance at deeper levels. So based out of what emerges, and it has emerged in my own coaching school, where there's such transformations that they're using somatic coaching all the time in the work that they do with their executives and everybody else. They learn to play with different language so that there's an openness to move more into the fullness of the body. So we feel like it is the beginning of much, and we're both big dreamers. And so we'll look forward to see what emerges out of it. That was a beautiful question, Howard. Thank you for that.
My pleasure. Every once in a while, I get to ask a good question, and I'm excited. And for listeners, I am going to be attending the seminar with Carrie-Ann and Kathy. And what I love about evidence-based coaching is that conceptually, think about a toolbox, a quiver that you call upon when you're with a client, you meet them where they're at, but then you also pull out the right quiver at the tool at the right time and to help go deeper with the client. So I'm excited to be able to go beyond just attending a virtual seminar and actually sitting down and working through and help not only for myself to become a better coach, but also learning a new modality. So I'm very excited about this opportunity. Kathy, if you would just share, when will this seminar take place?
Yes, it's in Henderson, Nevada, October 22nd and 23rd, this fall.
Okay.
Yes, and all of that information will be on the website.
Okay. Very good. Well, we're going to get to the website in just a second. Before we head out today, and again, I want to also celebrate the fact that you both have had those similar disparate journeys to get to where we are today. And many of us have what I call aha moments. This is when you kind of take that step back. So recognizing Carrie-Ann in the moment, there's something going on here that like, wow, I get to do this and see the impact of the work that I have chosen for myself, whether it's the mindfulness, the teaching. What has been your aha moment and kind of leading up to where we are today? I'm
Well,
sure you've had a lot of them, by the
I
way, but
have
if there's
after
more.
my aha moment watching Kathy coach many, many years ago now. I would say I have many of them. It's when I see my client's aha moment. For me, that's it. Time slows. I quiet, they quiet. And I know that there's so much happening internally. And my job at that moment is to hold space. And I consider those moments sacred. I really do. I don't know a better word. And after a coaching session, when the client has this aha moment, I'm on a high after because I know that this role has given this person access to something greater. And now comes the hard work of checking in, and all of that happens after a person has transformation. They need the coach to continue to help them meet that goal. But I'm so honored to do this work. I love coaching. It is heart work for me, and those aha moments are my aha moments that I'm in the right place.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Kathy, what would be your aha moment? I mean, just given the journey you have been on.
Yeah, thank you. Mine is just so similar. It just feels like at this stage in my career now that magic happens daily. It's just like it just is the aha moment all the time. People come to me to reinvent themselves and to discover a whole new level of themselves and aspire to something new and different. And to watch a client create that new life for themselves and experience a deeper level of satisfaction and fulfillment in life, it's so fulfilling to be able to walk alongside in that humble stance with somebody as they're becoming somebody new. Their beingness changes. And so for me, it's every day I'm thinking, what magic will happen today? How good can it get? How good can it get?
I love that. Many years ago, not that many, I used to wear a rubber band. We used to get those at the conferences, and on the bands, they would have words. And I was really taken by finding the right words that meant something for me. And I was thinking awareness, being, and it was, and also possibility. It's just in that moment, just that so much was possible if we just stop and just look around, be more aware. I'm very much a very objective facts, goals, how do we achieve it? What's next? And so I have to remind myself, even as a coach, a lot, take a step back and just be there, listen. And as you were saying, carry and hold that space. Another feature we have on the podcast is called the Insight to Go. And that's kind of where Success Insight, the name of the podcast, came from. Is insight is a play on words, insight or just the word insight. And what insight to go, Carrie-Ann, would you have for our listeners? Could be a quote, an article, a book, maybe just a gift of sort that you would like to leave with our listeners.
I would like to suggest some books on neuroscience and mindfulness because there's so many great books out there. So just a couple. Buddha's Brain, that's by Rick Hansen and Richard Mendius. Rick Hansen is well known in the circles with neuroscience and mindfulness. And then Altered Traits was the most recent one I read, and that's by Daniel Goleman and Richard
Okay.
Davidson.
Oh, yeah.
These
From
two
emotional
books are
intelligence. Yeah.
wonderful. And if you're new to mindfulness, you might want to start with Into the Magic Shop by James Doty. That's a great introduction book.
Okay. Well, we'll provide the backlinks to those books in
Thanks.
our show notes. So thank you for that. Kathy, what would be your insight to go?
Yeah, you had asked me earlier to consider this and said, what has continued to come to your mind over and over in this last season? In one of my meditations a while back, the phrase came, feel into the sacredness that's emerging. Feel into it, engage it, connect to it. And Carrie-Ann was just talking about how coaching is would create a sacred space. And I was writing it down the other day and I accidentally transposed the C and the A. And it was feel into this scaredness of what's emerging. And I thought, they're the same letters. And that's what's happening in our world right now. People are scared. People are depleted. People are shut down. And yet, if we just flip those two letters, every moment can be a sacred moment, every moment. And that's when we really discover the gift of life, the gift of connection. That's when we evolve and we expand in the fullness of who we are. And that's where those not only possibilities are and potentials, but actually, I would say the possibilities become potential.
Mhm.
So every moment, if I start to get scared, I just flip it. This is a sacred moment. What can I learn? How can I connect to it? What's there for me? What's the gift? And move into a place of appreciation. And it's very much of an elevated emotional state of being versus a depleted state of being. And so that's what I would leave, feel into the sacredness that's emerging.
I love that. And I need to really think further on it because there's, as you were sharing that, I've got a couple clients in mind that, I mean, they're just wonderful clients and there's so much possibility there. And they're at the moment they feel overwhelmed, but then that's the being scared. And there's so much that's going to come out of the not of working through that being scared, so much possibility. So that is a great gift. I appreciate that. Kathy, if our listeners would like to learn more about you and your work, and especially to learn more about this wonderful seminar that's going to take place in October, where are the best places for them to go?
So my website is Coaches Evolve. Uh, Also attached to that is the International Academy of Professional Coaching. That's my school. You can also find me on LinkedIn and Facebook.
Excellent. And the seminar is going to be on the website.
Yes.
Uh, okay, front and center. Excellent. Now, remind our listeners, is there any type of discount if for early registrations or anything like that?
There is. We're going to extend it. The for 12 units for 2 full days, including food and beautiful music by a professional singer, Dr. Mortonette Stevens, who's fabulous.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's amazing. Talk about being present. Oh, she's glorious. But it's $575. So it's really reasonable. But we've got a 10% discount right now, and we're going to extend it through partway through September, probably September 15th.
Excellent. Well, we're going to have this episode up pretty quickly. So hopefully our listeners, will, especially here in Nevada, will be able to take advantage of that. Carrie-Ann, if our listeners would like to learn more about you and your work, where are the best places for them to go?
Well, to begin with, I want to reiterate to sign up for this workshop, Coaches Evolve is where you sign up. So that's the most important place to go. And then if you want to learn more about me, my business is called Journey Through Coaching, and that's also my website. journeythroughcoaching.com. And you can find me on LinkedIn.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we're going to provide all the backlinks to the websites as well as the social sites in our show notes, and we'll do a shout out about the conference and also the discount given the extension. It has been a pleasure to have two wonderful fielding alumni and a good friend, Dr. Kathy Norwood.
Go fielding.
Yeah, go fielding. And Carrie-Ann, it's a pleasure to meet you and get to know you, and I look forward to learning more from you at the seminar. And actually, I might even have to invite you onto my Outdoor Adventure Series podcast because of the RV, and I think that's like pretty cool because
Oh, Howard,
I
we're
sit at
still
this
in
desk
it.
too long.
I'm still in the RV, so we should talk.
Oh, that is fantastic. So it's been Kathy and Carrie-Ann, it's been a pleasure to have you both on, and I'm so happy that you were open to this possibility. This is a gift to be able to share good friends and people that care about a lot of the work that I do, and it's wonderful to kind of share the joy and celebrate this wonderful accomplishment with this new seminar that's going to be launched in October. So thank you again.
Thanks, Howard.
Thank you, Howard. Thank you so much. This is such a gift for us. We really appreciate you.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and it was a pleasure meeting you. You're good at this.
Thank you so much. Well, listen, stay on the line. We're going to do a very quick chat and we're going to do a quick close, and then we can all have a final chat. Okay. All right, folks. Hope you enjoyed this wonderful episode of the Coaching and Consulting Insight series on the Success Insight podcast. And you get to meet my good friend, Kathy Norwood, and my new friend, Carrie-Ann Tkaczyk. A pleasure to learn she is also a fielding alumni. See, kudos to fielding on the folks that they have attracted. And I think Lenny, our mentor, will be very happy. And it was Katrina Rogers, the president of fielding, who has been a part of fielding for as long as we have been at fielding. And I know they're doing some work too on climate change and how people are being affected, just going about their day-to-day lives, and just how do we live in a world that is rapidly changing. And so it's this work that your husband is doing, Carrie-Ann, I think is so very important. And it's a reminder too that I had met a professor who's at UNLV, and he is very much interested in climate change. So I need to get him back on the podcast. So just all those things, all those ideas go pop, pop, pop as I'm having interviews. So it's an amazing thing.
Howard, I'm a ICF Arizona member, and we were able to get the two founders of climate coaching in Europe to come speak in November, which is amazing. They're great. It's for any coach to put some ideas, ways to work with climate with whomever's in front of you.
I may definitely have to make my way to Flagstaff. I think that's wonderful. So again, we're going to provide the backlinks to both of the websites for you, Carrie-Ann, and you, Kathy. Coaches Evolve, and for Carrie-Ann, Journey Through Coaching, and we'll have backlinks to the social sites as well. And for our listeners, do check them out. And if you are in Nevada or want to visit Nevada, this is actually the time of the year that's closely coming upon us when Las Vegas is wonderful. The weather is perfect. It's literally right after Labor Day. As for me, you can find this episode on our website, successinsidepodcast.com. We also have our LinkedIn and Facebook pages. We have our YouTube channel. And of course, you can listen to this episode wherever you listen to your podcasts. So until next time, go out there, have a phenomenal day, take care of yourselves, your family, and we look forward to having you join us on a future episode of the Coaching and Consulting Insight series on the Success Insight Podcast. Take care.